39% give it to Mitt Romney. But will that translate into votes? That small percentage of undecideds out there, was it a difference maker for them last night? Let's bring in friend of the program, Jason Johnson, political correspondent, Politic 365, professor at Hiram College as well. And we'll play some of the moments here as well. But give me your take coming out of this. Of the undecideds, and we don't know the percentage out there, was it the difference maker? They coming out and going, I know who my guy is now.
And no, I don't think so, because there's no real undecideds. And you could see it in the questions that they were asking last night. I mean, look, you would think that Barack Obama wrote half those questions. I thought that they very clearly indicated what these voters felt. They knew who they liked from the beginning. And if you had any doubts, look at the first people that they hugged as soon as the debate was over. Half of them went rushing to Romney. Half of them went rushing to Barack Obama.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a question that went to Romney that you think, hey, did the president write this one?
I think her name was Susan Gatz or something else like that. The woman asked Mitt Romney the question, please explain to us the difference between you and George Bush. And I mean, David Axelrod could have written that question. I mean, like, it was a really tough question for Mitt Romney to answer. He should have been prepared for it. And then Barack Obama knocked it out of the park. But there were so many of these easy setup questions. I really think they could have done a better job of vetting who was asking what.
Was there one that you think Romney could have wrote?
Right. I think the question about Libya, you know, the guy sits up there and he's like, well, yeah, me and my friends were talking about Libya. Really? You were talking about Libya? No. The people who are primarily concerned with that are a lot of Republicans who think that it demonstrates that Obama is weak on foreign policy. So I thought these questions clearly indicated where these voters lie. There is almost no one in this country who is undecided at this point.
Okay, so, and let's talk about that one, that exchange there that could have went either way.
Right.
Because the question was not about Libya. The question was about they wanted more security in Libya. Why didn't you give it to them? And Barack Obama didn't answer the question, and Mitt Romney did not seize on that.
No.
Right?
This was like volleyball. I mean, this was a setup for Mitt Romney to knock it out of the park, and he totally whiffed on. And not only did he whiff, Barack Obama gave one of the strongest answers of the debate. It was amazing.
All right. And again, if Mitt Romney would have listened and taken us back to the question, he could have just said, I'm sorry, I think his name was Kerry, the president didn't answer your question, and I don't know why. It was an opening. He didn't, and then they got tied up in Libya, which leads to this. Let's watch it.
And the suggestion that anybody in my team, whether Secretary of State, our UN ambassador, anybody on my team would play politics or mislead when we've lost 4 of our own, Governor, is offensive. That's not what we do. That's not what I do as president. That's not what I do as commander-in-chief.
Again, good moment for the president, right? And Mitt Romney could have been a good exchange for him, and it wasn't.
That was a withering look that Barack Obama gave him. And I'll give you I was watching this in a bar last night with a couple of friends. You could have heard a rat tap dancing on cotton. Okay, the room was silent when he was talking because it was a really powerful thing. He didn't answer the question, but what he did is he took ownership and he said, "Look, the buck stops with me." He could have left it on Hillary Clinton. He could have said, you know, he said, "Look, for you to suggest that I don't care that people who I directly hired got killed disgust me." And that was a powerful moment.
It was. And I'm going to get to a moment that I think was a good one for Mitt Romney. But before we get that, I'm so frustrated, and I want to get your take. Neither of them really answered the questions. It's pivot to talking points we heard first debate. And I just think, why do we settle for that? I want to get your take on that.
Well, it's partially because the voters don't know how to ask good questions, and the voters aren't allowed to ask follow-ups. And I think that will be key. If the voters had the opportunity to say, excuse me, Mr. Romney, excuse me, Mr. President, you didn't answer my question. The young man, like, I think Mitt Romney answered that young man's question about what he'll do to help him get a job. Barack Obama, the first question. Barack Obama didn't. The woman who asked later, Mitt Romney, what will you do to help protect women in the workforce? He didn't answer that at all. Only Barack Obama did. And I think the voters should be allowed to have follow-up questions.
I agree with you. Okay, let's get to Mitt Romney. And this was an interesting point. It was a gentleman who had voted for Barack Obama, and now he's questioning, you know, does Mr. President, should I vote for you again? And Mitt Romney, I thought, had a pretty good point, you know, whether or not the president deserves 4 years. So let's watch it. We'll get your take.
I think you know better. I think you know that these last 4 years haven't been so good as the president just described, and that you don't feel like you're confident that the next 4 years are going to be much better either. I can tell you that if you were to elect President Obama, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a repeat of the last 4 years. We just can't afford 4 more years like the last 4 years.
All right, your thoughts on that?
I thought that was the best thing that Mitt Romney did, but here's the problem. That has always been the challenge of this campaign for him. Everybody knows why they're disappointed in Barack Obama, but that's not the same thing as making the case for why you can do it better. And that's where Mitt Romney actually lost his debate. He identified...
But most say that Romney had more of a plan and a future than President Obama, that the president was more on the attack than Mitt Romney.
Exactly. And that was the problem. See, Romney made it very clear. Look at all the things that Barack Obama hasn't done. Look at all the promises he's made that he hasn't fulfilled. But when he laid out his plans, Barack Obama decimated them, and Romney didn't have a comeback. And it was almost a complete reversal of what happened in the first debate. I think that was Romney's weakness. He didn't make the case for himself. He made the case against Obama.
All right. Sets the stage for number 3. We'll call it 1-1 at this point. Hopefully we'll have you back, and we'll keep it going. All right, Jason. Good stuff as always. Thanks again. All right. So what did you want to hear from the candidates last night?